Okay. So our discussion today covers the electronic configuration of atoms. No? So what is the electronic configuration? No? Alam natin 1s2, 2s2, 2s3, something something yan, di ba? Mga ganun siya. But what it actually tells us is that it describes the electrons in your atom. No? It describes to which energy level your electrons are, no? And kung anong orbital siya makikita. No? So that's the idea that is given by the electronic configuration. So hindi lang siya simpleng 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, something something. Ano siya, it is a description of your electrons. No? So it describes kung nasaan yung electron mo sa isang atom. No? So yeah. So, electronic configuration, yun nga, it is an expression of the arrangement of electrons in an atom. And it shows you the number of electrons in principal shells and subshells. So, ano yung principal shells? Yun yung mga energy levels natin na we usually have energy levels starting with 1, no? And up to 7 yun. Kaya yung periodic table natin, kung makikita nyo, it contains 7 periods. No? So yung 7 periods sa periodic table natin, ay yun. It corresponds to different energy levels. Tignan nyo yung periodic table nyo ngayon. Pakita ko na ngayon. Okay, so kunwari ito. So, for the first energy level, I have two atoms here, hydrogen and helium, di ba? For the second energy level, I have lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. Third energy level, then fourth energy level. No? So on and so forth. No? So parang may pattern ba dito sa periodic table? Meron po, no? Because the periodic table is, other than being arranged by atomic masses and periodicity, yung diniscuss sa lecture nyo, no? Or kung hindi pa na-discuss, i-discuss pa lang. The periodic table is arranged, di ba, in terms of masses na pinalitan nila in terms of the atomic number. Tapos, yun, naka-arrange yung columns niya based on periodicity na. So, eventually, na-realize din nila that the periodic table that they made, no, si Dimitri, yung ginawa niya, it is also arranged in such way that the electronic configuration, no, can be inferred. No? So, ibig sabihin, by just looking at the periodic table, you can predict what is the electronic configuration of this atom, of that atom, so on and so forth. No? Okay. So, bago tayo pumunta dyan mamaya, balik muna tayo sa ating PowerPoint. No? Okay. So, yun lang. Ay, hindi siya full screen. Ayan. Okay. So, yun. So, what are the principal shells and the subshells of our atom, no? So, ano yung mga principal shells? Yun nga sabi ko, yun yung mga energy level. We have energy level starting at 1 up to 7. Sir, pwede ba lumagpas doon? Pwede. Kaso wala pang atoms na na-discover na bago. So, for now, our periodic table has only 7 periods, no? So, hanggang energy level 7 lang muna tayo, no? Sir, how about the subshells now? So, the subshells are the shapes of your electron. Remember that last time, no? Each electrons, no? Iba-iba yung shapes nila. Okay? So, we have the S shape, the P shape, or the dumbbell shape, the clover leaf, yung donut na may hotdog, ano pa, ayan, no? And all the complex shapes in the f orbital. No? So, kada shape na yan, no, it corresponds to a subshell. No? For s orbital, we have only one subshell. For p orbitals, we have three subshells. No? The one with the p orbital lying on the x-axis, yung isa naman lying on the y-axis, and yung isa is lying on the z-axis na. Okay. Pag hindi ma-visualize, Pakita ko na lang itong mas maganda yung picture na nasa textbook na ginagamit ko dati. Okay. So, yan. Ito yung shapes ng S orbital, no? So, for S orbital, yung isang S or yung isang spherical orbital niya, it can hold one pair of electrons lang, diba? For p orbital naman, we have three distinct shapes, no? So that means we have three subshells for p orbital, no? The one that is oriented in the x-axis, the one that is oriented on the y-axis, and the one that is oriented also in the z-axis. Ayan. So each shape, no, they can contain two electrons, no? So sa s orbital, pinalaki lang yung size dyan, no? So sa s orbital, 2 electrons per shape, no? So isang shape lang yan. So 2 electrons lang yung kaya ng s orbital. So p orbital, so we have three distinct shapes, no? Or we have three distinct arrangements. So ilang electrons yung kaya ng p orbital? So it can hold 2 electrons for the p that is oriented in the x-axis, 2 electrons again for the p that is oriented on the y-axis, and 2 electrons again for the p orbital oriented in the z-axis. So yan. So ibig sabihin yan, we have 2, 4, 6. Our p orbital can hold 6 electrons. No? D orbitals naman, so we have 5 d orbitals lang. No? So each shape, again, they contain 2 electrons. No? They can contain up to 2 electrons. So how many electrons can our d orbital contain, no? So, ilang kaya niya hawakan? So, that's just 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So, we have 10 electrons for d orbitals. No? And then F orbital, so we have 7 shapes, and each shape corresponds to 2 electrons. No? So, yan. So, 2, 4, 6, 4, 6, 7 daw. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. No? So, yan. So, our F orbital can hold up to 14 electrons. No? So, dyan natin i-distribute yung electrons later on. No? Yan. So, ganun lang. So, dyan natin i-distribute yung electrons natin later on to completely describe the location of electrons in our atoms. No? So, nagkakahalo-halo yung mga shapes na yan. No? Especially when our atom becomes bigger. So, ito yung idea. So, for the first energy level, our atom, no, can only hold the s orbital. No? Isa lang yung kaya niya hawakan. For energy level 1, it can only hold one s subshell, no? Or yung s orbital lang. Okay. So, how many electrons can an s orbital fill? Dalawa, no? So, yun. Yun, remember, dalawa parati kapag s, no? So, in total, for energy level 1, it can only contain up to 2 electrons. No? So, ang dalawang electrons lang yung kaya niya tanggapin. No? Paano na yung sobra? How about the others? No? So, if you have an excess electrons, they will go to higher energy levels na. No? So, you begin with the lowest energy level, filling out the s orbital. Tapos kapag sumobra na, you will proceed with the second energy level. No? So, in the second energy level, it can contain 2 subshells. No? May dalawa pa tayong orbitals na pwede sa energy level 2. So, that is the s orbital and the p orbital. No? Okay, so again, s orbital can contain 2 electrons. P orbital can contain 6 electrons. No? Sir, ilang orbital ulit sa s orbital? Okay, so remember, sa s orbital, isang shape lang naman meron. So, we have 1 orbital for the s orbital. No? So, for p orbital, we have 3 distinct shapes. No? So, that means may 3 different orbitals tayo. No? So, yeah. Overall, for the second energy level, it can contain 8 electrons. So, that means if you have an atom na may 10 electrons, yun yung neon, the electrons of neon can be distributed in the 1s orbital, 1s2, and then sa 2 second energy level, doon mapupunta yung remaining 8, dalawa doon sa s orbital and yung 6 sa p orbital. So mamaya, yun natin yan. I-recall natin yan. Okay, so for energy level 3, the energy level 3 can contain 3 subshells, So may tatlong subshells na siya na kaya. The s orbital, the p orbital, and the d orbital. So, yan. So again, we have one shape for the s orbital. And yung shape na yon, it can contain 2 electrons, di ba? So for p orbital, we have 3 different shapes, And that each of those shapes, each of the 3, can contain 2 electrons. So all in all, our p orbital can hold 6 electrons. For the orbital naman, we have 5 distinct shapes. So 5 yung different shapes natin doon. And each of those can contain 2 electrons. So in total, that's 10. Overall, for the third energy level, since we have these 3 orbitals, pag pinag-add natin yung kaya nilang electrons, the sum is 18. Ibig sabihin niya, on the third energy level, it can hold up to 18 electrons. Okay, so fourth energy level tayo. So for the fourth energy level, it is now capable of accepting electrons o kaya placing electrons into these orbitals. So apat na yung options niya. So ano yung shortcut dito? Isipin nyo na lang na for 1, S lang. For 2, dalawang orbitals kaya niya. So may S and P. Pag 3, tatlo yung kaya niya, SPD. Pag 4, SPDF na. Okay. So, yun. So, again, for S orbital, it only has one distinct shape, and that shape can contain only 2 electrons. For p orbitals, we have 3 distinct shapes, or three distinct orientations. And each orientation can accept 2 electrons. So the product is 6. So 2 per shapes, di ba? Okay. So for d orbital, we have 5 distinct shapes. And each shapes can contain 2 electrons. So in total, that's 10 for the d orbital. And for the f orbital, it contains 7 distinct shapes. May 7 shapes siya. And yun, each of those can contain 2 electrons, and in total, we have 14 electrons for the f orbital. So that means overall, for the energy level 4, we can have up to 32 electrons. Sir, paano po pag energy level number 5? Okay, so pag energy level 5, still SPDF na. So yan. Hindi na siya SPD lang or SP or S. Pag 5 na, kaya na niya up to F then. Sir, meron bang G orbital na? Actually, they are discovering that Ayan. So, they are testing if possible yung idea na may G orbital, H orbital, K orbital na. So, yan. Maybe kapag marami na tayong elements na discover na. But for now, we are satisfied with up to F orbital naman. So, yan. So, paano po yung arrangement ng pagkakalagay ng electrons? Or how can we write the electronic configuration? So, ganito. So, ganito yung technique. Instead of remembering kung ano yung kung saan ilalagay yung electron, kasi alam ko may nakikita akong may nakikita akong mnemonic device na yung si Sally pumunta sa party. May mga ganon-ganon, di ba? Pero ito, mas madali ito, So, for you to remember how to write properly your electronic configuration, all you have to do is to, hindi, may sagot na kasi yan. Ito na lang. Okay. Okay. For you to remember how to arrange your electrons in an electronic configuration, ang ginagawa ko is ganito, no? Although yung G, siningit ko lang yan dyan, no? So, ganito yung ginagawa ko. So, I have my first column, no? Na may S lang. Then yung second is first row pala, na may S lang. Second row na may S and P. Third row na may SPD. And fourth row may SPDF na. No? I can also have G, no? Pero hindi naman tayo maabot dyan so far. No? Okay. So, paano yan? No? So, each column, each row pala, may nasa row and column. So, each row, that corresponds to one energy level. So, ibig sabihin, ito yung one energy level, 2 energy level, 3 energy level, 4 energy level, 5, 6, no? So on and so forth. No? Okay. So, that means, ito yung first energy level ko. Ay, ba't eraser pala eh. Okay. So, ito yung first energy level ko. So, that is 1s, no? Ito yung second energy level ko. So, that is 2s, 2p. Ito yung third energy level ko. So, that's 3s, 3p, 3d. Then, yung fourth, so on and so forth na. So, okay na muna ako hanggang dyan na. Sige na nga, tuloy ko na. So, ganyan yung ginagawa ko, no? So, gawa ka muna ng S, SP, SPD, SPDF, so on and so forth na. Tapos, lagyan mo ng numbers, no? This is the first energy level, the second energy level, third energy level, fourth, fifth, sixth, so on and so forth na. Then, paano mo malalaman yung pagkakasunod-sunod nila, no? Paano malalaman yung pattern, no? Sa arrangement, no? Ng electrons, no? Okay, so yung pattern, that can be drawn simply by a diagonal, no? So, paano yung diagonal, no? So, I will start here, pointing downwards. So, ang una ko natamaan na box is yung kay 1s, di ba? So, that means my lowest energy level would be 1s orbital, no? Okay? Then, next, gagawa ko ng another diagonal, no? Ayan. So, ano yung natamaan ko sa diagonal na yan? Yung 2s. Then, I will create another diagonal, no? So, ano yung unang natamaan niya? Yung 2p muna, di ba? Then, yung 3s. Okay? Then, I will create another diagonal, no? Okay, so ano yung una niya natamaan? Yung 3p and yung 4s, no? Then, sunod tayo. Diagonal na naman. Ayan. Ano yung una natamaan na orbital? 3d. Then, 4p. Then, 5s, no? Then, yun, we can proceed, no? Ito yung tinatawag nilang Christmas tree method, no? Kasi, ang itsura niya daw parang pag ganun-ganon, no? Christmas tree. So, yun, parang yun lang. Share lang nila, no? So, yan. So, they call it Christmas tree method, no? Ako, I call it diagonal method. Ay, nasan na yun? Ito. Ay, wait lang. Nasulatan. Ayan, so yun. So, ano again, no? Ano yung susunod natin gagawin? Gawa ulit tayong diagonal. So, diagonal again. Okay, so ano yung una natin natamaan? 4D, 5P, 6S, no? And so on and so forth. No? You can create diagonals pa. So, marami pang diagonal na pwede magawa dyan. But the idea is ganun, no? So, for you to know the proper arrangement of writing your electronic configuration, all you have to do is to create this table, no? Gawa lang kayo ng ganyan table, kahit di naman naka-table, no? Kahit nakalista lang siya. So, yung first line nyo would just only contain S, the second line will contain SNP, then third line will contain SPD, so on and so forth. Then after doing that, you create your diagonals. So you start with the S orbital, so diagonal pointing downwards. So ang tamaan niya yung S, so 1S yun. So another diagonal, matatamaan niya yung 2s, so 2s yon. Then, another diagonal, natatamaan niya yung 2p and 3s. No? So on and so forth. Ito yung sinasabi nila na si Sally pumunta sa party, si Daddy pumunta sa DPWH. Hindi ko na alam kung ano yung mnemonic nila doon. No? Ano kaya itong P na to? Payroll, salary, ewan ko na. Basta yun yung idea na. So, ako kasi makakalimutin ako sa mga ganung bagay. So, I prefer sticking with this one. No? This is how I remember the correct arrangement of my electrons, no? In proper electronic configuration system. No? So, ganito yung proper way of filling the electrons, no, in an atom. No? So, yan. So, balik ulit tayo sa PowerPoint natin. Nasaan na tayo? Ayan. So, ito na yun, no? Ito na yung summary niya, no? So, yung 1s. 1s yung unang tamaan. 2s, yun yung sumunod na tamaan ng diagonal. 2p, 3s, yun yung natamaan ng orbital again. Then, we can proceed up to 17. No? Tinuloy niya up to 17. No? So, masipag siya. Okay. So, paano po finifill out yung electrons sa ating electronic configuration? Okay. So, ito yung pattern na susundin natin, di ba? Yung 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p, 6s, something, no? Ngayon, the question there is, how are we going to place the electrons in this notation, no? So, paano natin lalagay yung electrons dyan, no? So, remember, our s orbital can hold 2 electrons. Saan ko ilalagay yung 2 electrons na yan, no? So, ilalagay ko yon as exponent ng s, no? Okay. Teka lang. Ayan, so balik tayo. So, ilalagay ko yung, yung 2 electrons na kaya i-hold ng 1s as exponent, no? 1s2. That indicates na dalawa lang yung kaya niya, no? Paano po yung sobra? E di punta ka sa next orbital. So, after filling out the s, you can go with 2s, no? So, it can contain 2s1 or 2s2, no? Ay, ba't di nag-erase? Teka lang. Ayun. So again, yung s orbital natin, it can hold up to 2. No? So, okay, ano ba yan? Hindi pa nagkakapit tong PowerPoint natin. Okay ka lang ba? Okay, so balik ulit tayo. Yung 1s, it can hold up to 2 electrons. Yung excess, they will proceed with the 2s. No? So, doon po tayong 2 electrons din. So, sa 2p naman, once na nandito na tayo sa 2p, may sobra na tayo kunwari. Sumobra tayo sa 2s, di pa natin lalagay lahat ng electrons. So, punta tayo sa 2p. So, pag nasa 2p tayo, ilan uling kaya ng p orbital? It can hold up to 6 electrons, di ba? So, it could be 2p1, 2p2, 2p3, 2p4, 2p5, up to 2p6, no? And, kunwari, nakarating na tayo sa 2p6, tapos may sumobra pang electron, then you will proceed with the 3s, no? So, 3s, dalawa yan. Then, pag may sumobra, we will go to the 3p orbital. So, the p orbital can hold up to 6 electrons again. Then, pag may sumobra, s naman. So, dalawa. Then, pag umabot tayo sa 3D, that can contain up to 10 electrons, diba? So, 10. So on and so forth. No? So, tuloy ko na lang yung pag-fill dito. Okay, so yan. So, as long as you know how many electrons can each subshell contain, no? Yung mga SPDF na yan, no? You're good to go, no? Just gawa ka lang netong Christmas tree na yan. Then, yan. Isulat mo na lang yung arrangement ng mga natamaan ng diagonal, no? So you will get your proper way of writing the electronic configuration. Then, so tuloy ko lang 6s2, 4f14, 10, 6, 2, 14, 10, 6, dot, na, so on and so forth. No? Okay, so all the electrons no, that are present in atoms can be described by this, by all this electronic configuration. No? Okay, so ganun lang yung idea. We have some rules to remember in filling out our electronic configuration. So we have some rules na kailangan sundin. No? Okay, so number one rule is that yung Impolish exclusion principle. Sabi lang dito, states that no more than 2 electrons can occupy a single orbital. Na. Okay, so remember, ano lang meaning na, no? Remember, for example, yung S natin, yung S orbital natin, di ba isang shape lang yung kaya niya? I told you kanina na yung shape na yon, it can only contain up to 2 electrons, di ba? Okay, so hindi pwede sumobra sa tatlo yon, no? So how can I visualize that shape, no? So pwede natin i-visualize yung shape na yon as isang box. Ay, nagsara na naman yung PowerPoint. There, kaya mo yan. Okay, so again, balik ulit tayo dito. Yung aking S orbital, ano ba yan? Nakabukas na ibang app. Close na. Mukhang ayaw ni PowerPoint pag lesson tayo. Patapos na nga eh. Balik ulit tayo. No? Ay, nako. Okay, so sabi natin kanina, no, our S orbital, it can hold only one shape, no? Meron lang siyang one shape, no? And that shape alone, no, it can only contain 2 electrons, no? So how am I going to represent that, no? I can represent that as isang box, no? Isang box. Ay, ayoko na. Lipat na lang tayo dito sa OneNote. Okay. So yan, so yung ating S orbital, no? Sabi ko sa inyo kanina, isang shape lang siya, no? So I can represent that one shape as one box lang, no? And yung box na yan, it can only contain 2 electrons. Now, according to Pauli's exclusion principle, yung isang box na yan, yung isang shape ng orbital, it can only contain 2 electrons. Nga. Hindi pwede sumobra sa dalawa. No? Hindi pwede yung tatlo. No? Okay. So, it can contain 2 electrons. Paano sinusulat yung electrons dyan? May up and down. No? So, sir, pwede ba parehas up? Bawal, no? Of ano naman yun, Pauli exclusion principle din. No? Ang statement kasi ng Pauli exclusion principle talaga is that wala daw electron na same yung kanyang ang tawag doon, yung kanyang quantum number. So may reason bakit up and down yan, no? That yung up, no, that corresponds to a positive 1/2 magnetic spin quantum number. And yung pababa naman, yung down arrow, that's negative 1/2 magnetic spin quantum number. But anyway, that is not covered by your textbook naman. So, okay na tayo dyan. No? So, hindi ko na masyado yan. No? Okay, so anyway, yung p orbital naman natin, remember may tatlong shapes yon, di ba? So, I can represent each shapes as isang box. No? So, isang box, no? One of the box corresponds to the P that is oriented in the x-axis. Yung isang box that will correspond to the P that is oriented on the y-axis. And yung isang box, yun yung oriented in the z-axis. No? So, ano yung shape na yon? So, kunwari, ito, x, y, z. No? So, yung px natin, ito yung shape niya, no? Andyan siya sa x-plane, no? So, yung Py naman, pag may electron dyan, yung electron na yun, it can be found, no, oriented in this manner, no. So, nasa y-axis siya. And then, kapag may, ba't y din yan? Z pala to. And then, yung isa pa is yung ating, dumbbell shape that is oriented in the z-axis. So, andito siya. So, yan. Okay. So, again, the per shape, no, that corresponds to one box, no, and each box, no, each orbitals, no, each subshell, they can contain 2 electrons only. So when filling out electrons dito sa boxes natin, no, so kunwari naging 3 na yan, yung unang box okay lang yung up down no. Pero kapag 3 boxes na yan, hindi pwede na ganito, no. Hindi pwedeng ganyan yung arrangement ng pagkakalagay ng electron, no. Anong rule yan, no? So, rule naman dyan is yung Hund's rule, no? Hund's rule, no? So, ano yung kwento ng Hund's rule? In simple terms, no? Ang sabi lang ni Hund's rule, when filling out the orbitals, no? The subshells of your orbitals, meaning yung kada box na yan, no? You fill out, yung isa-isa muna mo siya i-fill out, no? You fill out the X muna, you fill out the Y, you fill out the Z before you pair them, no? So yun yung sabi ni Hund's rule. Isa-isa mo muna ilalagay yung electron before you start pairing them, no? So hindi pwede i-pair mo na agad yung ganyan, no? Wag i-pair agad, no? Okay? So wag mo na i-pair, instead you fill out isa-isa muna, no? Isa-isa muna sila, no? So we can start with isa-isang pataas, no? And then, pag kumpleto na yung tigi-isa per box, no, we can continue pairing, no. So, pwede naman tayo maglagay ng pababa, no. Okay. So, that's the Hund's rule. Second rule yan. Kanina, Polish exclusion. Hindi pwedeng parehas pataas, hindi rin parehas pababa, hindi rin pwede parehas pababa, no. So, ano lang yung pwede? Up and down lang, no. So, yan lang yung pwede. So, ito yung Polish exclusion principle. Ito namang method of writing for kunwari may 3 orbital na, may 5 orbital na, how are you going to fill out the electrons, no? So sabi ni Hund's rule, you fill out the subshells first before you can start pairing. So literally, ang meaning lang nun, i-fill out mo muna lahat ng boxes isa-isa. Pag kumpleto na yung isa-isa kada box, you can start pairing them, no? Okay. So mamaya mas mapapractice natin to, no? Pag may confusion, no? So letter D naman, so for D orbital we have 5 shapes, di ba? So I can represent that as 5 boxes. Okay, so I have 5 boxes now. So again, according to Hund's rule, when I am going to fill the electrons for the D orbital, ano muna yung gagawin? 1 per box, no? So I will fill out this. Ayan, isang electron yan, isang electron, isa. Once I completed filling out the box, no, with 1 electron, I can start pairing now, no. So I can start pairing now. Simula sa left, papunta sa right, no. Then, ganun din for the F orbital, no. For the F orbital, I have 7 boxes naman. Tama ba yung 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ako lang pa ng isa. Yan. 7. So for the F orbital, no, I can start filling out the electrons, no. Isa-isa muna per box, no. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then, kapag kumpleto na yung isang electron kada box, I can start pairing them na. So, yan. Pababa. Sir, pwede ba yung baba muna bago yung taas? Ideally, yung taas muna bago baba. No? So, yan. Ganito muna. Ganyan na muna talaga bago yan. So, hindi pwede yung pababa muna. No? Bakit, no? The answer there is Polish exclusion principle. Medyo malawak yung Polish exclusion principle. Basta yung idea lang is that taas muna bago baba. Ganun daw muna, sabi ni Polly. Tapos, hindi pwedeng parehas na pataas. Bawal yan. Hindi rin pwedeng parehas na pababa. Ganito lang pwede. No? Okay. So, the last rule to be remembered, no, sa ating paggawa ng electron configuration na is the off-bow principle na. So ano yung kwento ni off-bow principle? When you are filling out the electrons in the in your electronic configuration, you start first with the lowest energy level. So you start sa mga mababa lang yung energy level. Ano ba 'yon, no? 'Di ba remember ginawa natin 'to? Teka lang. Diba ginawa natin to kanina, diba? Okay. So, ano yung una na tamaan ng diagonal? 1s. So, that means that is the lowest energy level muna. So, you start filling the 1s orbital first. Hindi pwedeng 4f ka agad, no? Stonks agad, no? Hindi, wag muna ganun. You start with the lowest energy level, which is the 1s. No? Yun yung unang natamaan ng diagonal natin. Then, sunod, yung 2s, no? Then, after filling out the 2s, gawa ko uli ng diagonal dito, you can start filling 2p and 3s. So, hindi siya pwedeng 1s, 2s, 3s agad, ah. So, may pattern tayong sinusunod na. Then, pag kumpleto na yung 3s, diagonal again, 3p, 4s. Then, kapag kumpleto na yung 4s, I can continue, 3d, 4p, so on and so forth na. So, ganun yung pag-fill out ng electronic configuration. So, in summary, we have 3 rules. Ano yung tatlong rule? Polish, exclusion principle. So, ano yung kwento ni Polish exclusion principle? When filling out electrons in the orbitals, no? Per box or per shape that can correspond only to 2 electrons. No? It can only contain 2 electrons. Hindi pwede sumobra. Pero pwede kulang. Pwede po. No? Basta wag lang susobra. So when filling out the electrons in your subshell, paano yung manner niya? No? So up muna, up arrow, then down arrow. No? Okay, so yan. So yun yung idea. So that's Pauli exclusion principle. Hund's rule naman, ano kwento ni Hund's rule? When you have more than 1 boxes, no? You have more than 1 box pala, no? Ba't ko plural yan? So if you have more than 1 box, no? The way of filling out those boxes or those electron shells, no? Is isa-isa mo muna sila lagyan before you start pairing. So meaning, bawal mag-pair agad, no? Hindi pwede yung ganyang pattern. Bawal yan, kapatid, no? Ano pwede? Isa-isa muna bago mag-pair, no? Up muna bago down, no? So yan. Hund's rule. Then lastly, off-bow principle. So anong kwento ni off-bow? You start first with the lowest energy level. So that means when filling out the electronic configuration of an atom, you start with 1s. Kasi siya yung lowest energy level. Then yung sumunod sa kanya is the 2s, the 2p, the 3s, the 3p, so on so forth. Now, just follow this Christmas tree diagram. Itong Christmas tree diagram natin. Okay? So, with that, no, we basically covered whatever we covered all the things that we have to discuss ngayon, no. So ano na lang kailangan natin gawin? Reinforcement of the ideas, no. And so recall muna natin mga nangyari. So sabi natin electronic configuration, this describes the electrons, no, in your atom. Okay, so it describes kung anong energy level yung iyong electron sa isang atom, no? So it can tell you kung anong principal shell siya, or meaning nun anong energy level yung atom mo makikita, and ano yung kanyang subshell, kung nasa S ba siya, nasa P, nasa D, nasa F, no? Then, yan. So, alam natin kanina that the energy level 1 can only contain S orbital, no? The energy level 2 can contain S and the P orbital, no? Energy level 3 can contain SPD, and energy level 4 can contain SPDF, so on and so forth, no? For S orbitals, no, it has only one shape. Kaya isa lang yung kanyang subshell, no? And how many electrons can that shape occupy? Accept pala. Ilan yung kaya niya i-accept na electrons? Dalawa lang, no? For p orbital, it can produce 3 shapes, di ba? So, i-represent natin yung nasa tatlong boxes, no? Each box can contain 2 electrons. So, in total, for p orbital, you can have 6 electrons. For d orbital, you have 5 different shapes, no? And each shape, no, or each boxes, no, they can contain 2 electrons up, totaling up to 10 electrons yung kaya ng d orbital. For f orbital, you can have 7 shapes, no, and 2 electrons per shape yung kaya, so you can have up to 14 electrons na. So, saan ba nanggaling uli yung shapes, no? If you may ask, saan galing yung shapes? Ito yung product ng quantum mechanical model ng atom, no? Yung shapes last time na nakwento natin. So, yung S-shape, ito yung P-shape, ito yung D-shape. Sir, ba't anim yun? Ewan ko dyan. Kinuha niya, yung gumawa ng PowerPoint, kinuha niya to kay Crash Course, no? Yung aso na yan, eme lang yan. No? Ito lang yung meron dyan. So, yan. Okay, so we basically covered yung mga principles in filling out the electronic orbitals, no, or electronic configuration. Poly, 2 electrons lang kada subshell or kada box or kada shape, no. Off-bow, you start with the lowest up to the highest, no. Then Hund's rule, ano kwento niyan? You place electrons 1 per subshell muna before pairing them, no. Okay, so what can that tell us, no? Ano kaya pwede ikwento sa atin ng electronic configuration, no? Actually, it can tell us kung nasan yung element sa periodic table, no? So, punta ako dun sa periodic table app natin. Asan yung periodic table app? Okay. So, let's look at our periodic table. Tignan natin, no? So, mapapansin nyo, itong side ng periodic table, itong, ayan, dalawa lang yun nandyan, di ba? Okay. Because this corresponds to the S block, no? Ito ang S block elements natin, no? And remember, dalawang electrons lang yung kaya ng S block, no? Dito yung S1, ito yung S2. Tignan nyo, ha? Ito yung 1S1, 2S1, 2S2. Tignan mo yung ending nila. Ayan, 2S1. Yun siya. So, meaning nun, lahat ng mga nandito sa pababa na to, S1 yung ending. 1S1, 2S1, 3S1, 4S1, 5S1, 6S1, 7S1. So, yan. So, that means, lahat na nasa group na to, sa column na to, they will all end with S1. Yung second column naman dito sa S block, ang ending nila always ay S2. Hindi ko makita. 2S2, 3S2, 4S2, 5S2, 6S2, 7S2. So, lahat ng nandito, S2 yung ending. Sir, ano ginagawa ni helium doon? Okay. Si helium, dapat andito yan eh. Dapat andito si helium sa taas ni beryllium, no? Katabi ni hydrogen. However, because its orbital is completely filled up, no? Kasi s orbital lang naman and dalawang electrons lang naman yung kaya ng s orbital. So since the helium's atom, no, yung helium atom niya, kompleto yung kanyang orbitals, so it behaves like a noble gas, no? Instead of writing it here, nilagay na lang nila doon sa noble gases, no? Pero until now, that's debatable, no? Saan ba dapat ilagay si helium? Dito or doon? Some say dapat dito. Kasi remember, this column, lahat sila nag-end with S2. Si helium, S2 din yung ending niya. Ayan, S2. So, dapat dito siya. However, yung isang argument niya is that helium, yung helium natin, it behaves like a noble gas because its electron shell, no, is complete. No? So, yan. So, nilagay nila dito yung helium. Okay. So, anyway, so this is the S block. Dalawang column lang meron doon. And sumunod is the P block. Ito yung P block. Again, ilang electrons yung kaya sa p block? 6. That's why we have 6 columns dito sa p block. Look, for boron, the ending, yung end ng kanyang electronic configuration ay p1. So that means si boron, si aluminum, si gallium, so on and so forth, they will all end in p1. No? So p1 yan lahat. Yung carbon naman, p2 naman yan. No? So p2, p2 sila. No? Ayan. Si nitrogen, p3 na yan. No? So p3, p3, so on and so forth. Si oxygen, p4, yung ending nila. Yung fluorine, p5 yung ending nila. And yung neon, pababa, p6 na yung ending nila. No? So yan. So makikita mo kung nasan yung atom sa periodic table, provided that alam mo yung electronic configuration. And vice versa. Kunwari, nakita mo, oy, si sulfur, ano kaya ending niya? Bilangin mo na lang, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tapos, nasang orbital siya. Nasang block siya, nasa p block siya, di ba? So, ang ending ni sulfur ay p4. Okay? Okay. Ano pa? Dito naman tayo sa gitna. These elements dito sa gitna, no? We call this block the D block, no? And so, ayan. So, D block yung mga yan, no? Okay. So, ilang electrons uli kaya ng D block? Sa 5 boxes, it can contain 2 electrons each, no? So, in total, that's 10 electrons. So, that's why we have 10 boxes here, no? Or 10 columns, no? For the D block elements. So, ito yung mga D1, ito yung mga D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7, D8, D9, D10. Okay? Okay, so, yan. So, ganyan yung pag-fill out dito. Okay? F block naman tayo. So, remember, F block can contain up to 14 electrons, di ba? So, it can contain up to 14 electrons. So, there should be 14 columns here. Okay. So, tingnan natin if we have 14 columns here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so may 14 nga, no? Okay, so in summary, with the idea of your electronic configuration, you can actually locate where the atom is in your periodic table, or vice versa, no? With the understanding of how the periodic table looks like, no, you can predict the electronic configuration of that atom, no. For example, ano kaya yung ending, yung dulong electronic configuration nito? Terbium. So ano na lang gagawin mo, no? So you start counting from the leftmost side of that period, of that block pala. So you start counting here sa leftmost side ng block, going to terbium. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8. 8 yung ending na number, di ba? And nasang block siya? Nasa F block siya. So that means the ending, yung end na electronic configuration niya should be F 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 na. F8 na. Sir, bakit naging F9 doon? Okay, so ito yung something weird with the D block and the F block. No? Para sa mga medyo nakakapansin na, bakit ito, ano to? Bakit ito ganito? Bakit ito ganyan? No? Okay, the reason why our D block and the F block do not really follow that idea na porket nandito, D1 agad, porket nandito, D2, porket nandito, nandyan. No? The reason why they do not follow that is that yung metals natin, they have different ways, no, of accepting electrons kasi they have too much electrons na. So, medyo marami na silang electrons, then ano na lang ginagawa nila, no? So, they try to distribute the electrons in much lower energy levels, no? Okay, so for example natin dyan would be, eto nga, si terbium, no? Okay, so si terbium, dapat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, ay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, dapat F8 yung ending niya, no? Bakit naging F9 doon? So, possible na may iba pa siyang orbitals. May electrons pa siya na nakalagay sa ibang orbitals. Pwede sa P or sa F, no? Pero, just to maximize yung kanyang use ng mga gamit na orbitals na, nilagay na lang niya yung isang electron papunta sa F, no? So, ganun. Medyo weird yung way of filling out electronic configurations for metals, no? Okay, kasi may rules na regarding that, no? And pag i-discuss ko siya, isang subject yon, no? Medyo mahaba yung discussion doon. So, pero just for simplicity, we know that for each columns here in the periodic table, they correspond to certain numbers, no? Or certain electronic configuration ending, no? So, ito, S1 yung ending nila, ito, S2 yung ending nila, ito P1 yung ending nila, P2 yung ending nila, P3 yung ending nila, so on so forth. Ito, D1 yung ending nila, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7, so on so forth, and F to F na. Basta yun na yung concept. Bibigyan ko na kayo ng disclaimer. When it comes to D and F orbital nga, they do not really follow that notion na kailangan dito lang to, kailangan D3 lang to, no? So, medyo weird sila, no? So, they have their own rules kasi. And yun, medyo mahabang kwentuhan pa yun, no? Babalik ulit tayo sa structure ng atom kasi pag ganun. Pero for simplicity, what we are more concerned with is the S and the P block lang naman, no? For most of the time, no? So, hanggang dito lang tayo, no? Okay. Okay, so with the knowledge on all those information, let's try to use all the information na nakuha natin, no, by answering some activities, no. Okay, so kunwari we have this, no. Write the electronic configurations of the following atom using SPDF notation, or yun yung electronic configuration, no, and the orbital diagram. Sir, ano yung orbital diagram? Yun yung boxes, no? Okay. So, paano po tayo makakagawa ng orbital diagram? You first have to have your SPDF, your notation, no? Yung electronic configuration. Okay. So, again, paano yung arrangement ng electrons sa isang electronic configuration? Hindi ko kabisado yon. So, gagawa ko ng ang tawag dito, cue card. Mandadaya muna ako. So, this is my 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s. Ay, pangit ng 3 ko. So, 3s, 3p, 3d, 4s, 4p, 4d, 4f. Then, I will start writing my diagonals. So, una na natamaan is 1s. So, 1s muna. Then, 2s, 2p, 3s. So, ganito yung pattern natin mamaya. 3p, 4s. Then, yan. 3d, 4p. 5s yung nasa baba. So on, so forth. No? Okay, so yan. So, meron ako ditong kodigo. Ganyan talaga ginagawa ko. Even until now, no? So, yan. Gawa muna kayong kodigo before you start writing the SPDF notation. Pero if you have already memorized this, adi good, no? Pero, as much as possible, please do not memorize yung mga ganitong bagay, no? Kasi there's a lot to memorize pa, no? Save some brain space, no, for much complex ideas, no? So yung mga ganito, pwede mo naman gawin yan as is, no? No-brainer naman yung paggawa ng diagonal. So, kayang-kaya yan, no? Okay. So, for sodium, no, gawin natin yung SPDF notation niya. Sodium. Okay. So, for sodium, the atomic number is 11. Ano yung electron niya? Okay, so if our sodium is not a cation or not an anion, ibig sabihin hindi siya ion, no? So, ibig sabihin lang nun that proton is equal to electron, di ba? Kapag hindi siya cation or hindi siya anion, di ba? So, that means the number of proton is equal to the number of electrons. So, that means for Na11, it has 11 electrons na i-distribute natin. So, how are we going to distribute the electrons? Okay. Sabi natin, we start distributing the electrons with 1s. Then, pag may sumobra, 2s, then 2p, so on and so forth. No? So, I will start with 1s. No? 1s. Ilan yung kaya ng 1s? 2. So, dalawa yan. So, ilan na yung nagamit ko sa 11? Gawa ko dito ng inventory. 11, dalawa na yung nagamit ko. So, may siyam pang natitira, diba? Okay. So, saan ko ilalagay yung 9 electrons na yan? Tingnan ako sa susunod na orbital. Ano yung kasunod niya? 2s. No? Okay. So, 2s. And then, ilan yung kaya ng 2s? Dalawang electron. So, 2s2. Diba? So, minus 2 ko yan. Ilan na to? 7. Okay. So, may sobra pa akong 7 electrons. So, tingin uli ako na kasunod ng 2s. Yung 2p naman. Diba? So, 2p. Yung maximum na kaya niya is 6. No? Meron na akong 7. So, okay lang. Punuin ko yun. No? So, minus ko na lang yung nagamit ko na 6. May natirang isa. Saan ko ilalagay yung isang sobra? Doon na kay 3s. No? 3s1. So, that is the SPDF notation for your sodium atom. No? Okay. Paano po yung orbital diagram, sir? Okay. So, once you have your SPDF notation, you can now write the orbital diagram. Paano yon? You started with 1s. So, you represent that as 1 box. 1s. Then, ilang electrons yung nilagay natin sa 1s? Dalawa. So, up, down. Yan. So, that's one part of the complete orbital diagram ng sodium. Okay. So, moving on. 2s2 naman tayo. So, paano po natin lalagay yung electron dyan? Ganun pa rin, up, down. No? Okay. So, yan. Nagawa na natin yung for 2s2 naman. No? Then, let's proceed with 2p6. No? So, again, for p, ilang boxes? Tatlo, because we have 3 shapes, di ba? Each box corresponds to one shape. No? Okay. So, how are we going to fill the electrons in this? No? So, again, Hund's rule, isa-isa muna before you start pairing. So, you fill out each electron sa boxes, no, one by one, bago ka mag-pair. No? Okay, so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ayan. Then, lastly, 3s1. No? So, s orbital yan, so isang box lang yan. And since isa lang yung electron, single electron lang ilalagay ko dyan. No? Okay, so that completes our answer for sodium. No? The SPDF notation or the electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. The orbital diagram is written as ito. One box, tas may dalawang arrow for 1s. One box with 2 arrows for 2s. 3 boxes with 6 arrows in total for 2p. And 1 box with 1 arrow for 3s. No? So, each arrow corresponds to 1 electron. So, ganyan lang yung shortcut natin dyan. Okay. So, and looking at the last electron, 3s1 yan. So, saan kaya natin makikita yung sodium? Okay. So, yung 3, that gives us an idea kung anong period siya. So, it tells us that sodium is in period 3. Ano pa? Nasa S block din siya. And nasa first column siya ng S block. Tignan natin kung andun nga si sodium. Kung nasa period 3 siya, kung nasa S block ba siya, and nasa first column ba siya ng S block. Tignan natin na. So, ito yung period 3, no? O, yan, dun nga siya, no? Ito yung S block, di ba? Okay. So, this is the period 3. No? Bakit? Bakit 3 yan? Kasi ito yung una. Ito yung 1. Period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4, period 5, period 6, period 7. So, di ba, nakita nyo, 3s1 yung dulo niya, di ba? So, yung 3, third period katumbas na. S, kasi nasa S block siya. Yung 1, meaning no, nasa first column siya ng dalawang column din. So, ayan nga si sodium na. Amazing. No? Okay, so yun lang. Sasagot pa ako. Tapos mamaya kayo naman. No? O, kayo naman mamaya. Kayo naman kay sulfur and chlorine. Sige. Sagutan ko muna to. Magnesium. Nawala yung sinulat ko dito. Okay, magnesium naman tayo. Okay. SPDF notation. No? No? Okay. So, yung magnesium natin, its atomic number is 12, pero hindi siya charged particle. No? So, since wala siyang charge, yung proton, equal yun sa electron. No? Remember that, ha? Kasi mamaya may charge na yung particles natin. No? Ano kaya gagawin pag may charge? Mamaya pakita ko. Okay? So, yan. So, pag walang charge, meaning walang number dito sa top right, ano yan, no? Yung proton equal yan sa electron. So, it contains 12 electrons this time. And we're going to distribute the 12 electrons to our orbitals, no? Mga electron shells, no? For SPDF notation, I will start with 1s. Gawa ko ng ledger dito. So, I have 12 electrons to start with, no? So, I can place 2 electrons sa 1s. So, making 1s2. Okay? So, minus 2. Ilan na lang natira? 10. Okay. So, I have 10 extra electrons. So, I can start filling the higher energy level orbitals. No? So, punta ako sa 2s. Kaya niya lang up to 2. So, minus 2. 8 na lang. Okay? Then, ano yung sumunod sa 2s? Edi yung 2p orbital na. Siya yung next energy level. So, again, p orbital can hold up to 6 electrons. So, gagamitin ko lahat ng 6 na yon kasi sobra naman yung aking electron. So, 8 minus 6, dalawa. Okay, so may dalawa pa ako sumobra. Sino kasunod? 3s. And, just so happened na ano nangyari? Nakaya ng 3s yung dalawang extra electrons. So, yan, nakompleto ko na yung pag-distribute ng electrons sa kanya-kanyang orbitals. No? And yun, nakita natin na 3s2 yung ending ni magnesium. Ngayon, tignan natin kung nasan kaya sa periodic table. No? Again, pag meaning ng 3, nasa third period. Ano meaning ng S? Nasa S block siya. Meaning nasa left side. 2, meaning no, nasa second column. No? Tignan natin kung andun siya. No? Just to verify kung tama. Third period, S block, second column. Check natin. Ayun siya, oh. Ayun. Highlight natin yung S block. So, this is the third period again, di ba? So, yan. So, it is a sodium. Nasa first column yung kanina. So, 3s1 yung ending niya. So, magnesium, nasa second column because the ending is 3s2 na. Diba? So, yan. Yun lang. With the idea of electronic configuration, you can locate where the atom is sa periodic table. No? So, very, mas okay lang siya. Useful idea to when nag-start na tayo sa chemical bonding. Basta yan. Sa future, kung niya na malalaman yung mga chemical bondings. Anyway, so practice pa tayo, no? Bago ko kayo bigyan ng activity, no? So, magpa-practice pa ako. Anyone, magbigay kayo ng atom. Kahit isa lang. Comment nyo na lang, isang atom lang. Yung DNF orbital, skip natin sila, no? Kasi medyo technical yung part na yun, no? So, baka malito kayo lalo. Bakit napunta dito yung isang electron? Bakit hindi na lang dito? No? So, ganun. So, we will avoid the D and the F orbital muna for simplicity. Ako na lang magbibigay ng electron sa sarili ko. So, kunwari, gusto ko ng atom na oxygen. Ano pa yung gusto ko? Sige. Ayun, oxygen niya. Ano pa kaya pwede? Sige, bigyan niyo ako ng 5. So, bibigyan ko kayo ng 10. Gantihan lang. Joke lang. Oxygen, sabi ni Zoila. Fluorine, o sige po, fluorine. O, 3 pa. Argon. Barium. O, last one. Potassium. Okay. Natapos na tayo. Okay. So, ako binigyan niyo ng assignment, no? Okay lang. Para makita natin kung paano i-apply lahat ng mga nangyari. So, my task here, no? Yung aking activity is to write the A, SPDF notation, no? And B, yung orbital diagram, no? Okay, so dalawa yung task ko, no? So, SPDF notation, then orbital diagram. So, I will start with your oxygen, no? Okay, ano yung atomic number ng oxygen? So, tingin tayo sa periodic table. Siya ay 8, di ba? So, since wala tong charge, the proton is equal to electron. So, that means it contains 8 electrons, no? Okay. Sama na rin natin yung sinabi ni Jean. Sige. Beryllium. Okay. So, yung 8 electrons ng oxygen, no, i-distribute ko siya to specific orbitals, no? Sa specific orbitals, no, or subshells. No? Sige. So, ano ba yung pattern natin dito? Ayan, tingin na lang ako dito. So, I have 8 electrons. I will distribute them dito sa mga yan, no? Sige. So, gawa tayong ledger. 8 electrons, no? Electron count. Okay. So, I will start with 1s. Okay. 1s orbital can contain up to 2 electrons. So, lagay ko dyan 2. No? So, minus 2 yan. So, 8 minus 2, 6. No? Okay. So, sumunod. No? What's the next orbital after 1s? 2s na. Okay. So, 2s can accept 2 electrons, no? So, kaya niya up to 2 electrons, no? So, minus 2 natin dito, 4. So, I have 4 electrons remaining, no? So, saan ko ilalagay yung 4 extra electrons, no? Sa 2p orbital naman. So, 2p, 4, no? So, okay lang up to 4. Hanggang 6 naman siya, eh. Pero kinulang, edi okay lang, no? Okay, so, tapos na. Lagay ko na lahat ng electron dyan. So, how about the orbital diagram? So, I will represent my SPDFs as boxes. No? So, I'll start with 1s. Yung 1s, isang box lang yan. 2s, isang box. 2p, tatlong box. No? Each box corresponds to different shapes. No? Okay. So, for 1s, I have 2 electrons. So, I will fill it out as up, down. No? Tapos na ako doon. 2s, 2. Up, down. 2p4. Okay, so again, up muna, isa-isa before you pair them. So, 1, 2, 3. Then, pag kompleto na, you go back again sa left. Then, you fill out the down arrow na. Hindi pwede yung ganito, ha? Hindi to pwede. Bawal na bawal iyan, kapatid. Ito, bawal yan. Ayan. Pangit yan. Ayan, so, hindi ganyan. Sabi ni Hans Rule, sabi ni, hindi ganyan sabi ni Hans Rule, pati ni Polish Exclusion. So, dalawang tao yung magagalit sa'yo. So, yan. So, we're done with oxygen na. Next, fluorine. Si fluorine, siya ay 9th element. So, wala tayong charge dyan. So, 9 electrons meron tayo dyan. So, I will distribute my electrons, may 9 electrons sa different subshells. No? So, electron count ulit tayo. So, I will start with 9. Okay. Ano yung una? 1s2. Minus 2, 7, Para tayo nag-accounting, no? 2s2, ano? 5. Nag-isip pa talaga ako dun. And yung 5 electrons, pwede ko siya ilagay lahat sa p orbital. No? Again, up to 6 electrons naman yung kaya ng p orbital na yan. So, okay lang kahit mag-undercount tayo dyan. Okay. So, orbital diagram na tayo, no? So, let us represent our s and p orbitals as boxes, no? 1s, 2s, 2p. Okay. So, 1s, dalawang electron, 2s, dalawang electron, 2p, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So, ganun. So, ganyan yung pag-fill. Maliit pala yung box. Teka lang. Ayan. Okay, so that's how you fill out the orbital diagram for fluorine. Okay, so punta na ako sa next na binigay nyo sa akin. Argon. Okay, 3 argon. Ano ba yung kanyang atomic number? 18. Okay, 18 siya. Parami ng number, no? Sige. Okay. So, 18 electrons tayo because wala tayong charge, no? But ko ina-emphasize na walang charge, mamaya kasi bibigyan ko kayo na may charge, no? So, papakita ko sa inyo kung paano yung technique, no? But anyway, sige. Proceed tayo. So, I have 18 electrons to distribute, no? Okay, so let's start with 1s. 1s, 2 yung kaya niya. So, minus 2, 16. 2s, 2 yung kaya niya. Minus 2, 14. 2p, ilan yung kaya ng 2p? 6, no? Minus 6, no? Ganun-ganun na ako ng kamay ko, no? 8. Medyo nahirap mag-ganay. Mahirap talaga mag-subtract minsan, no? Tapos, ano yung sunod sa 2p? 3s, no? 2. So, minus 2. 6. Napaisip pa talaga. Ano yung sunod sa 3p? Ay, sa 3s, 3p. So, yung 6 na yan, ilagay ko lahat yun doon. No? So, I consumed all my electrons na. No? Okay. So, I'm done writing the SPDF notation. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 2p6. Okay. So, I'm done with that. Orbital diagram na lang. Boxes. 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, and 3p. Ayan, papangit ang box ko. Ayusin ko na lang. Okay. So, I will start filling out the electrons. No? 1s, dalawang electrons. So, up, down. Ganon din sa 2s, up, down. 3s, ay, 2p pala. So, 2p, 6. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3s2, 1, 2. 3p, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No? As you can see, sa ating orbital diagram, no, all the boxes, no, all the orbitals have complete pairs of electrons na, no. Kapag kumpleto kasi lahat yan, no, may noble gas tendency yan, no. So, yan, stable yan, pag ganyan. Okay, so, ano sunod? Ang dami kong isa-solve. Ang dami pala nito. Okay lang, para ma-feel ko naman pagiging estudyante. Barium. Ay, madami to. Ay, 56. GG. Oh, sulat ko ulit dito. Okay. Ayan. Pag nakalimutan, sulat yung shortcut na. Okay, so for barium, I have 56 electrons to distribute, no? Okay. So, wala kasi siyang charge. So, 56 yung i-distribute ko. Madami-dami to. Okay lang. Yung sa inyo mamaya yung radon 88. The joke. Pinahirapan. Yung 56 electrons. Okay, so I will start with 1s. No? 1s. Dalawa yung kaya niya. Gawa ko ng ano, column for electron count na. So 54 na lang. So saan ko ilalagay yung remaining? 2s2 minus 2 yan. 52. 2p6 minus 6 cannot be. And then 46 na. Tapos ano sunod? 3s2. Sabihin nyo na kung mali yung subtract ko yung subtraction ko. 44. Then 3p6 no. Ilan to? 8. 38. Tama ba? 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 44. Tama. Ano sunod sa 3p6 na? 1s, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4. Ano sunod sa 3p? 4s na, no? So 4s2 minus 2, 36. Ano sumunod sa 4s2? 3p. Okay, so 3p. 6, kaya niya. Minus 6, 30. Ang dami pa. Ang sumunod sa 3p. Ay, nalito ako. Di ba nalito ako? 4s2. Sunod pala is 3d10. Sorry. Okay, so 10 pala. Mag-ingat ha. Huwag gayahin ang aking pagkakamali. So 3d10 na pala. Ang sipag. Mamaya, mas maraming electron sa inyo. 3d10. 4p, sunod daw. 4p. Ang dami. 6 na. Minus 6, 20. Ayan na si John Rolf. Gising na siya. 20, 4p. 6 na. Pinulang pa to, 5s. Sunod sa 4p, 5s lang. So, dalawa sa 5s. Minus 2, 18. Ang dami. Hey, 3D. Ano na? Ano sumunod? Sa 5s? 4D. 4D, 10. Okay. Malapit na tayo sa katotohanan. 8 na lang. 4D, 10. Ano sumunod yan? 5P. 5P6. Dalawa na lang eh. Thank you, Lord. And ano yung susunod sa 5P6? 6S na. 6S na. Ayun, tapos na ako. Okay. Maingay si Jamrod. Noisy. So anyway, ayan, natapos ko na yung paglagay ng electrons sa aking na yung paggawa ng SPDF no, sa aking barium. So yan, so I have 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d10, 4p6, 5s2, 4d10, 5p6, 6s2, no? Okay, so ang dami, di ba? Okay. So one way to confirm this is to check, no, kung yung ating atom, tignan na yung dulo. Kung nasa 6 period siya, nasa S block at nasa second column, check natin kung nandun siya. Malay mo, wala eh. Pero nandun yun, no? Ito yung S block. Second column to, di ba? Okay. So, tignan natin kung nasa 6 period si barium. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 period, second column, andun nga si barium na. So, tama yung ginawa natin. Okay, so ganun na. So, ano susunod? Yung orbital diagram, boxes, no? Okay, so boxes 1s. Nakapagod pala maging estudyante, no? Isipin nyo, no? Iba-iba yung subject na marami kayong task. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ano to? 4D na, no? 5P6. Ayan. Ayan, so, fill out ko na sila. So, for 1s, I have 2 electrons, 1, 2. For 2s, I have 2 electrons, 1, 2. 6 electrons for 2p, up, 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 down, down, down. Up, 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 down, 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 ha? Bawal yung up, down, mali yun. So, 3s, up, down. 3p, so taas muna bago baba. Okay? 4s, taas baba lang yan. Sa D, lahat muna pataas. So, up, 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 up. Down, 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 down. 4p, up, up, up. Down, down, down. 5s, up, up. Ay, but up, up. Ako magagalit sa akin si ano. Si Polly. So, yan, down pala. 5s, up, down. 4D, up, 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 up. Down, 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 down. 5p, up, up, up. Down, down, down. Then 6s, up, down. Ay, sa wakas natapos din. Parang tinatamad na tuloy ako gawin yung iba, no? So, bigyan ko na lang kayo ng task, no? Tuloy nyo na lang. Nakapagod pala mag-solve. kayo na bala sa 5, 6, 7, 8 lang. So, 4 lang yung task nyo. Bibigyan ko kayo ng organism. ano kayo pwede? Gaganti ako. Medyo chlorine. And bromine. So, yan. By the way, bago kayo magsagot, di ba kanina, I keep on emphasizing yung wala kasi tong charge, no? But if may charge, what if ganun yung case? For example, let's have sodium and sodium ion. Okay? So, the difference between the two is that one atom is positively charged, di ba? So, ano meaning uli kapag positively charged? Sobra ng proton or kulang ng electron. Kulang siya ng electron by how much? 1. No? So, that means itong Na lang, this has 11 electrons for us to distribute. Yung Na+, meron siyang 10 electrons na lang, no? Na i-distribute, no? Bakit siya naging 10 electrons? Kasi diba, remember, charge is equals to proton minus electron. Positive 1 equals 11 minus E. Lipat mo sa kabila, 1 minus 11 equals negative E. Negative 10 equals negative E, or E is equals to 10. Okay. So, ganun na. So, that's one way to think of that. You can write the equation. Or, simply, ano na lang, solve nyo na lang sa mind na. Okay, so that means, since magkaiba yung aking dami ng electron, that should give me an idea na magkaiba sila ng electronic configuration. Yes, no? And this is important, no, for the next chapter. Yung paggawa ng ions and bondings. No? So anyway, pasadahan na natin to. Okay, so for sodium 11, nasagutan ko na ba yun? Ayun kanina, nasa PowerPoint, no? So, I can write the SPDF notation for sodium as 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. Okay? For sodium, positive, sodium cation, since kulang ako ng isang electron, ano na lang gagawin ko? So, didistribute ko na lang yung 10 electrons. So, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. Wala na akong 3s1. No? So, as you can see, as you change your cation, your atom's charge, no, the electronic configuration also changes. No? So, every time na magiging positive yan, you are losing electrons. That means you will have less electronic configuration. No? So, mas lesser yung mga orbitals na ma-occupy ng iyong atom. However, if this is negative, no, ibig sabihin, mas marami siyang orbitals na i-occupy. So, ganun yung concept. So, bigyan ko pa kayo ng example before kayo mag-activity, then conclusion na tayo. No? Magnesium and magnesium 2+. Number 12 yung magnesium. Okay. So, for magnesium lang, for magnesium alone, I have 12 electrons to distribute, no? But for magnesium 2+, kulang ako ng dalawang electron. Ganun na, one way of thinking of positive charges is kulang ka ng electron. By how much? Yung number, no? Yung number na naka-indicate. So, kulang ako ng dalawang electron. So, instead of having 12 electrons, I now have only 10 electrons. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to write the SPDF notation for the two atoms. So, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2. Okay, so that's for magnesium without charge. How about kapag may charge? 10 electrons lang. So I have 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 na. So magkaiba sila ng electronic configuration. So actually that covers all the things na kailangan natin i-cover today, no. So for the last part of our discussion, I will let you answer 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ano kaya pwede sa isa? Hindi. Lalagyan ko na ng charge yung isa dito. Bromine negative. Hindi, masyadong marami doon Cl. Bawasan ko na lang para mabilis kaya. Aluminum 3+. Ayan. Okay. So your task is to write the SPDF notation and the orbital diagram for numbers 5, 6, 7, 8. No? 5, 6, 7, 8. So yan na, 4 lang. No? Then, pag nasagutan natin yan, we can conclude our meeting today na. So yan. Sige, so I'll give you time. No? Ilang minutes? Siguro mga 10 minutes? 5? Okay, so basta ganun na. Sige. So, if you have any questions, just raise your questions. Sabihin nyo na lang. So, yan. Good luck kay Bromine. No? Kung kinaya ko si Barium, kaya nyo si Bromine. 35 lang yan eh. Okay, so yan. Off ko muna yung cam. Ako'y maghihikam. Sagutan nyo muna yung 5, 6, 7, 8 ha. SPDF notation and orbital diagram. Okay? Sige. Ayun sa mga bio friends natin, no? Sige, okay na tayo. Hanggang dito lang naman coverage natin. Tapos pwede na kayo uli matulog, wala kayong klase. Okay. So thank you for joining us. Siguro nagtataka yung mga medtech na sabi na, sino kaya itong mga to? Ano sila? Friends ninyo from bio. Tom Hunt din pala, no? Sige.
Thank you po, sir.
Bye-bye mga bio friends.
Salamat po.
Yeah. Ay, mga medtech, hindi kayo aalas, ha? Answer lang kaya. Ayan, so sige, bye-bye. Bio peeps. Mamaya yung medtech umalis din, ha? Sige, bye-bye guys. Ay, si Zoe naaalis matapos mo ako pahirapan. The joke. Sige. Sige. Bye-bye muna, bye friends. Sige. I lost track kung ilang minutes na, no? Pero anyway, recitation tayo. Paano yung recitation natin? May magre-recite na lang. Re-recite niya yung 1S2, 2S2, then titignan natin kung tama yung sagot niya. No? Sige. Okay, so anyone for potassium? Ay, may nagtaas si Darlene Garcia.
Sir, ano po?
Sige, so sabayan kita. Potassium, ang kanyang atomic number ay 19. So we have 19 electrons to distribute. Sige, 1, 2, 3.
1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s1.
Okay, so tama ba si Darlene? Opo, ayan, very good, no? So yan, thank you. Thank you, Darlene. Beryllium. Okay, so beryllium is, ang atomic number niya ay 4. Ay, dali lang, no? Sino na una? Sabihin niyo kung stop, mamimili ako dito. Si Jean Paula. Ayan. Ako lang nag-stop sa sarili ko. Jean.
Sir, ano po? 1s2, 2s2.
Tapos na. Diba? So, thank you, Jean.
Opo.
Aluminum 3+. Ayan, aluminum 3+. Ano ba yung aluminum 13? Sino gusto mag-recite? Si Tanya.
Sir, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6.
Asan kaya yung ibang electrons?
Since 3 plus po, mas madami pong proton. So, mababawasan po ng 3 electrons.
So, ganun. So, tama yan. Nawala na yung ibang electrons. Siguro isipin nyo, saan kaya sila napunta? Napunta sila sa anions. No? Ayan. Malalaman nyo yung pag nag-discuss na tayo ng chemical bonding. And siguro for the last one, we'll have Tanya. Br minus. Teka lang. Br minus. Kanyang atomic number ay 35. Oh, medyo marami-rami ito. Okay, so, sige, Tanya.
1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d10, 4p6.
4P?
6.
6, no? Bakit kaya siya naging 6? Di ba dapat P5 siya? Kasi nga, may sobrang electron. No? So, we have 36 electrons to distribute kasi. No? Okay, so yan. So, thank you, Tanya. So, I hope you arrived with the same answers, no? Yung orbital diagram, syempre, mahirap siya gawin dito sa online class, no? As is na lang siguro yung idea natin nun. Basta ganito yung itsura nila, ha? Ayan. So, with that, thank you very much for your participation. Do you have any questions pa? Or okay naman tayo today? Or gutom na kayo? Okay lang, kahit gutom na. Ako din eh. Any questions? Concerns?
Wala po, sir.
Wala na. Sige. Ayun. So, salamat. Okay na tayo for today, no? So, yun. So, I hope na... Sir... Opo, ang ano pala, guys, yung mga recording, nasa ano sila? Yung YouTube channel na nilagay ko sa Canvas. Better to save that channel, yung playlist na yon. Refresh nyo na lang. Sir, sa quiz, bigyan ko po kayo ng region. Binigyan ako ng idea ni Zoila. The joke lang. Hindi naman. Hindi, ayoko rin ng medyo marami. So, limited yung time natin sa quiz na. And so again, yung recording ng classes natin, they are all uploaded on Canva, on YouTube, no? Just check the playlist, yung nilagay ko sa Canvas, no, sa announcements. Save nyo na lang siya. Yun. Any concerns? Or okay na tayo? Okay na tayo siguro, no? Sige, salamat po for your participation, no? Ito po pala. Sir, nag-take po ako ng quiz kagabi. Yung picture part, no? If may picture part, ako na siguro bahala doon. Ganito kasi mangyayari, no? I-check ko naman yung individual answers nyo. So, pag may picture part doon, ako na bahala mag-compensate for that, no? So, yun.
Hindi ko
Ang
alam.
test bank kasi natin, hindi ko sure bakit walang picture, no?
Kuya, pakainin mo naman si Lexi. May
Sige.
binabat si nanay dyan, makikibigay naman.
Sige po, Darlene.
Ay, hala, sorry po. Hello.
Okay lang. Okay lang yan, Darlene. So, sige, kain na tayo, no? Sabayin natin si Lexine. Sige. So, thank you. Okay lang, Darlene. Masaya naman tayo today. So, salamat for your participation. So, kain na tayo ng breakfast na. So, I see you on Tuesday again, no? So, So, I hope you have a great weekend po. So, thank you very much for your participation and